Welcome to this Womanship Live, where we get to know a little bit more about the speakers behind the bios for the Connected Health Weekend this September. I'm Nicolette Lazarus, founder and Chief Connection Officer at Womanship, which is a community and platform built to create safe spaces to help women share more and worry less through honest conversations, professional support, and events like the Connected Health Weekend. Today is a special edition because we're turning the spotlight on the story behind the event, on my collaborators, the women who lit the spark to where we are today. And if you'd like to know more about the Connected Health Weekend yourself, you'll find all the details at womanship.co. So let me introduce my guests. Firstly, Penny Inberg, who works in global advertising, producing large-scale football shoots. She's always in production mode, looking 2 steps ahead and open to spotting opportunities for connecting and bringing together the best people and teams for a job. And Suzanne Rethans, journalist and host of the podcast, I'm going to say it in English, Not Crazy. Suzanne has been a leading voice in opening up honest conversations about women's health and mental well-being, especially from a menopause perspective. Her perspective and voice help give shape and visibility to the idea. So together, these are the women who lit the fuse for what's happening in September. Let's start with introductions in your own words. So who are you and what makes you the woman you are today? Let's start with Penny.
Yeah, so who am I? I think you introduced me well. So professionally, I work in global advertising. Outside of work, I think since 2019, I've taken an interest into educating or giving women information about menopause and hormones based on my own experience. So that was always sitting there in the background. And yeah, to say what makes me the woman I am today, I think actually all the experiences that one has in life, including personal and professional life, and good ones, but maybe even more bad or sad ones. I feel like always looking back at things that happened that seemed really bad and sad at the time, in hindsight, I feel like those were the ones that always got me further in life. So I think that is a big part that makes us, or definitely made me.
Anything specific in terms of something that really influenced you to bring you to where you are today?
I guess so many learnings from relationships and breakups to taking care of my elderly mother, then guiding her into her passing. Yeah, all those things that shape you, but also the happy things, all the great people you meet in life, including you, right? The both of you. So yeah.
So Suzanne, I'm going to ask you the same question. Who are you and what makes you the woman that you are today?
Yeah, well, actually, perimenopause made me the woman I am today, because until then I was, well, just living the life as you might expect it. And so by the time I was 40, I was married and I had 3 children, and I worked as a journalist, mainly for women's magazines. And then, well, perimenopause hit me, along with some really mental anxiety and sleeplessness, and I just couldn't cope anymore. But because I didn't know about perimenopause, because back then it was in 2012, nobody knew about perimenopause and also how early it can start. So I went to my GP several times, but yeah, nobody recognized it. And then you get the story, oh, well, you were too busy, you have 3 children working. So I should do yoga, and I got oxazepam and a lot of things. But because I couldn't cope and it went, well, worse and worse, I thought I wasn't fit to be a mother. and a wife, and I decided to divorce because I became so snappy to the children, and I really felt like my skin was open and all my nerves were open, and yeah, and I thought when we divorce, I have the children half of the time, and then I can relax. So, well, it has cost me a lot, and my children even more, I think. And it was only when I, well, was 51 and, well, entering menopause. And after half a year, I started on HRT. And then, well, you can get the same symptoms you used to have. And well, then it just hit me because I got the same anxiety I had when I was 40. And then I knew it was the hormones all along. And I had to, yeah, really the path that I think a lot of women are experiencing by, yeah, not being heard by your GP and getting antidepressants, sleeping medication, and well, and that really, well, it changed my perspective over the last 10 years and everything that has happened. And it, yeah, it really put me or set me on fire. And I decided to yeah, make the podcast. And initially it would be five episodes, but then a lot of women stood up, and I think it was just the right moment, and they recognized themselves, and they were very hungry for more knowledge. So I'm still doing that.
I mean, it's a story we hear so many from so many women that they don't get heard, they don't understand what's happening. And I think, you know, it's amazing that you've turned that negative experience that you had into such a positive one with the information that you share for women. So, so I guess it's about the three of us. I'm going to jump in and just say, you know, that the key thing for me, and again, Penny, I jump back to you and go, gosh, so many life experiences. I could do an hour talk on what's brought me to where I am now. But I think the key thing for me was the spark from my partner, who said, I can't believe that given the amount you women talk, you don't talk about the really important stuff. That started my whole journey to womanship. It's something I just couldn't get out of my head. And I guess in advertising, we look for the, you know, the unique truth in something that we can sell to everybody. And this is the one thing that I've said to every woman, and every woman has agreed with in terms of that insight. So yeah, so that brings us to a little bit about ourselves. So Penny, I'm going to say, how do you remember us meeting? You know, I'm a fan of connections, not just in terms of life journeys, but yeah, how do you remember us first meeting?
So yeah, you and I, Nicolette, we met, I think about 3 years ago. So I think sometime in COVID. So through work, I met this great producer that you and I both know. And like I said, I had started back in 2019 in like very small groups and continued to do this online during COVID, explaining women about perimenopause, all based on my own experience, and starting with HRT myself. So yeah, and I started talking to him, thinking at the time I wanted to do more with it. And he then connected us together because you had just started Womanship. So yeah, I think we met a few times, and that led to some other things. And yeah, you were the first person I thought about when this opportunity came along. So
why don't you tell us about what happened in the UK and the spark that set this amazing journey we're on with the Connected Health Weekend come to life?
Yeah, I think it's what Suzanne was just saying about doing only 5 episodes and all the women responding, right? Everything in life, I guess, is about timing. So I guess this as well. I actually looked up the date. So it was the 21st of October on a Monday, and I was gonna go to London for a week for work. And I have been reading everything and following doctors in menopause for like over 10 years. So Louise Newson was one of the people I also followed already for a couple of years. and she was doing her theater show for the first time in the UK. And coincidentally enough, she was doing one show one night in London. And it turned out to be the Monday when I was arriving in London. So I actually changed my ticket to arrive in London in the afternoon instead of the evening. So I was able to go to the show. And while I was sitting in the show, it was so amazing. And I already started thinking, like, this needs to come to Amsterdam. Like, people in the Netherlands need to see this. So fast forward to after the show, where I had an opportunity for the book signing, and I had her sign the book. And this was literally, I guess, 1 minute. And I said, it's so amazing. I want to bring you into Amsterdam. And she said, please speak to my PR manager here. And she introduced, so it was literally 1 minute because I was just in the queue. And I ended up speaking to this lovely woman who already the next day connected with me on email. And I had a call with her, I think, already 1 week after that. And I had already started to think about you, Nicolette, with Womanship. And Suzanne, I think we hadn't met yet. I had been asked to be introduced to you through a mutual friend that we have, because I was interested in what you were doing and my interest in hormones. And yeah, like I said, I always think with this producer mind and feel like, what is the right team? And I immediately thought of the two of you. And then I think it just spiraled from there. Then the three of us had a call with Louise Newson. And of course,
I remember before that was the first time we sat down with Suzanne. So what do you remember about that first meeting, us coming together?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was in the Hotel Americain, right? In the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really a lovely and also profound meeting, I think, where we talked about what we experienced ourselves and about Louise and what we could do. Yeah, I remember I felt really excited after that, but we didn't know exactly what because it was actually Louise herself, because we did want the theater show, and she herself said, well, it's going to be difficult and maybe I can do a lecture. Well, and that just grew out to this amazing event. Yeah.
Because we also, I remember, I think Penny, the idea was to show that we had enough support. So I think the first thing that we did was post on LinkedIn, just saying who would be interested if we bought the stage show. So, and I think I was just amazed by the response. I mean, I know how amazing Louise Newson is, but the response was huge. Why do you think it resonated so strongly, Suzanne?
Well, because, as I said, also my podcast really went sky high, and within you have two big Facebook groups in the Netherlands and Belgium, and Louise Newson, I think, is an example for all of us. So we all we talk about her a lot on the forums, and well, I've listened every episode of her podcast, so I knew that a lot of women would be interested in meeting her.
Yeah. Also because up until, I personally think Suzanne's podcast is the best information in the Netherlands. But I think up until you started that podcast and your whole community and movement, there weren't that many really good professional doctors. So I think a lot of women were including myself, were looking at UK and American doctors for really good information. So I think that's why bringing Louise to the Netherlands, immediately people were like, yes, please.
Yeah.
So the idea of bringing the stage show and then her doing a lecture kind of coincided with my thoughts on for Womanship, because Womanship is talking about all these different areas of health that are often looked at individually and how they all connect. So, you know, you can be going through menopause and have a death in the family or financial issues. So that was Womanship bringing it all together. And I'd been thinking about having an event next year, a connected health event, where I brought all these areas together. So for me, it was seeing this opportunity of saying, well, if she wants to come and do a lecture, how can we actually bring this together as a bigger event to cover these sort of womanship areas? So it's kind of snowballed. I think everybody thought that we were crazy in trying to do an event like this in such a short space of time. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about how that came together and some of the speakers that we'll be having at the event who've jumped on board, because one of the things that a lot of people tell me is, my gosh, you have such an amazing lineup of speakers, and it's something I'm really proud of. So I don't know whether you'd like to just talk about some of the speakers we've got, Suzanne and Penny, and maybe your own sessions as well.
Yeah, most of the speakers I had in my podcast, so I was already connected to them and could ask them, and I think they because they know I've been working on this for 2.5 years, also for free, because it was just my passion about this subject, that caused them to say, well, okay, we'll do that, because normally they are really expensive, high-class speakers, and they all agreed to just go to Amsterdam, sometimes buy a ticket and share their knowledge, which is great. And I think it's really nice that we do. You know, of course, HRT is a big subject, but also we have Herman de Piep from Gent. And it's about, preventing disease. And we have Meliante Nicolai, sexuologist. And we're also going to talk about the gut. So it's a really, integral and everything is connected, as you said.
I'm
stress reducing, yeah.
I'm really surprised at the people who said yes from my end, because, you know, you've brought in so many speakers with the specialism around the hormones and the people that you've had on the podcast, but also covering the other womanship areas in terms of the people who've responded to me. And I'm just been amazed. So I have 2 women, one coming in to talk about finance and how we can invest, because it's so important for us to invest as women and know how to do it. She is flying in from Spain. We have a doctor flying in from the UK who runs another health app. We have somebody who's cut their holiday short and is flying back from, where is it? From, I can't remember where she's flying back from, but I don't mean like Spain. I mean like the other side of the world. She's flying back early to participate. So what do you think it is about the event that has got so many of these amazing speakers coming in to speak, you know, just to speak, to share their message?
Well, I think it's their passion as well, and they are really delighted that the subject is now so well spoken about. They see the importance, and they also like the idea that it's the first time, and that we have had to keep it small and intimate.
It's the timing as well. It's like all these doctors, including where we are coming from, right? It's our passion to make sure this information is being shared as with as many women as possible. And I feel like all these doctors are doing the same. They want to make sure this goes out to the women, to educate the women.
Yeah, because the timing is right, because there is a lot of and concern and awareness now in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So, Penny, do you want to talk a little bit about the session that you'll be doing?
Yeah, so I'll be doing my own perimenopause. Was on one side really good, because I managed, I don't know how, but I diagnosed myself in my early 40s that I was in perimenopause, even probably without knowing the word perimenopause. So that was good. I read the Dr. Lee book. I got immediately onto the progesterone, and I always thought I had been going well through menopause. What I didn't know was that I was actually suffering from what we know now, officially been named a few months ago, genital syndrome of menopause. And I wasn't diagnosed, and I didn't realize either, because of the way everything is described and all the lists that you see. The hot, everybody's talking about hot flushes, which I didn't have. So anyway, so what Suzanne, basically her experience with like the mental health side of perimenopause was basically my experience with the complete other side of the body, the lower end. And I also feel like it's super important for women to be aware of this, especially because we know it's such an easy fix. And I wasted, I think, 13 years of my life if I would have gotten the right vaginal hormones. So I feel it's important. And I'm really happy that Meliante Nicolai, who of course Suzanne arranged, who's also coming to speak, has agreed to do a presentation with me, because I feel like it will be really good, like getting the women access from my personal experience, but also a doctor basically confirming that I just don't go on stage and talk bullshit.
But I think those personal stories are so important. I think we learn through other women's stories.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think this is the whole sharing more, getting up and actually talking about the experiences we go through. So many other women then recognize it and realize that they're not alone. And that for me is such a womanship more. The whole, once you talk about it, other women will go, oh my gosh, I've experienced that. Yeah. I need some help with that. So I think the personal story side is really, really important. And that goes for both of you. Suzanne, you've been so open about your personal journey. And I think a lot of women will actually recognize that. So, Suzanne, you're going to be doing a couple of sessions. So, do you want to talk about the sessions you'll be doing?
Yes, because the last couple of months I've done a DNA analysis amongst women who have mental complaints during perimenopause, and I wanted to know if we looked at their DNA, what we have in common. So. With estrogen and the neurotransmitters and how they work together. And I had done a DNA test, and a lot of other women who heard the podcast about it did the same one. So we could easily compare. Of course, I'm not a genetic specialist myself, but Evelien van der Wel, she is. And 166 women are in the analysis, so we it's almost finished now, and Evelien and I are going to talk about it and share our results. And Evelien is also going to have a professional session to talk about the DNA and how it all works together in estrogen metabolism and the influence on neurotransmitters. And there is a mental health.
It's hugely interesting, the whole DNA. I mean, I think one of the things it really brings to life is how little research there is in this area. And for me, bringing women together, it's about amplifying the voice as well for more research to be done, because, we're 50% of the population. The amount of research that's actually been done on menopause is so small for what we represent. So, studies like yours are insanely important. So, really.
Yeah, and we're also going to be a part of Erasmus Medical Center. They already have a study for premenstrual the anxiety and everything, and we're going to be a part of that one because they are also really interested. So we're going to work together, and it's actually going to be a real study, a scientific study, and that's really nice because I hope in the generation after us that women don't have to feel this way. And they shouldn't have to, because we really, I think we found the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that, and I'm certain everyone who comes along will learn so much from that session. And so there are other sessions you're also going to be appearing on. So do you want to just mention some of those?
The mental health, you mean?
Sorry,
we have an unstable connection, I see.
Yeah, you're back.
The connection's gone, so let's just start that a little bit again. So do you want to talk a little bit about the mental
Sorry,
health?
I can't hear you anymore. My connection is not stable.
Hello, are we all back?
No, I don't know. I don't hear anything anymore.
Hello, are we back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I can see you.
Yeah, but I don't hear. I don't hear
now,
you anymore.
Nicolette, you're frozen.
So maybe you should talk together.
We have gremlins in the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear.
Okay. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not certain what has happened with the gremlins in the system, but in the meantime, I just want to say that us coming together is such a reminder of how a spark can turn into something much bigger. And I'd like to give a thank you to everybody who joined us live. We can't wait to welcome you to the Connected Health Weekend. Just checking whether my co-conspirators are back in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just asking a little bit about the mental health panel that you'll be on with Louise Newson.
Yeah, with Louise Newson and Evelien van der Wel. And yeah, I think we're going to talk about those topics. And it might be, well, I'm curious about that because I think some of the findings we have are maybe a bit contradictory to how she thinks about it. So I'm looking forward to it, to sharing the knowledge we have. Yeah.
And I think one of the key things about bringing all these specialists together for me, going back to the research element, is there's so little research that I don't think any one person has the right answer for all women. And I think it's something that I'm really passionate about, is having all these amazing speakers come together so that women can choose what works for them, choose which bits of advice works for them, choose which sessions to go to, because over the 2 days, I think we've got almost 50 sessions. So it's like 25 sessions. So people can plot their own course for the day, whether they want to listen to a course on hormones, a presentation on hormones, or they want to go to a session on investing or something about their diet. It gives them the flexibility to really plot out their own path. And I think that's one of the real strengths of the event, looking at so many different areas in one place with so many amazing speakers. So we are fast running out of time. So I'm just going to ask a final question. Why do you think women should attend this event?
Well, it's because it's about their health and well-being, and I think that we are used to suffer or have hardship and just go on and on and on, and I think knowing what's happening within your body doesn't only then you can comprehend yourself, but you can actually learn what to do about it, and that's, I think, they're really easy solutions. So it's good to know.
I think it's amazing that women will spend, 125, 150 on a manicure or pedicure or treat for themselves, but they won't spend that money to invest in their health for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, but I think it's exactly that. It's the awareness. We have not been told that menopause is actually the half of our lives, right? We've always been told it's one moment. And I would say, like, why is it important for women to come to the event? I think what you were saying, there's so many different specialists and other point of views that will be shared. And I've been saying for many years, even when I started my smaller presentations back in 2019, I always say to a woman, it's important that you research your healthcare topics and your menopause. And I always compare, it's like if you want to go and buy a house, you need to look into your financial situation. What can you afford? What is important for you? And it's exactly the same with our healthcare and menopause topics. What works for me or what's important for me is completely different for you and you.
Yep.
And I think these 2 days, or even if people are going to come one day, you have the opportunity to get so much information and put together your own menu and go home with a lot of information.
And menopause and perimenopause is definitely a focus, but we also have sessions for, you know, younger women, for example, women who are looking to get pregnant from 35 plus, for example, because a lot of women don't realize how their hormones change. So we're covering everything from imposter syndrome to how we ask to help, to helping our diets. We're covering so much. And I can't believe we're already out of time. It's such a pleasure working with you ladies to bring this event to life. So thank you for everybody who's joined, whether you're watching this live or the replay. If this resonated, please share our event posts and help spread the words, because when we share more, then we worry less. And that's womanship. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
You. Bye.
Bye-bye.